there's a slew of new legislation going into effect this year in China. Joining me now to discuss all of that and what it means is Andy Mok. He's a Senior Research Fellow at the Centre for China and Globalization. Good to see you again, Andy. Now, China's import and export tariffs into 2024 are a deliberate effort to boost the country's manufacturing sector and bolster domestic consumption. Talk about how that is.
Well, laws play a very important role, whether this is in society, economics, or national security. So I think it's first important to get a little bit of context here. So any country needs an effective set of laws and institutions to implement these laws. And we can think of this as a kind of political infrastructure, just as physical infrastructure like highways, airports, utilities are vital for a country to function effectively. So this particular example, I think, is China's efforts to make sure that it is addressing the economic and trade aspect of its governance.
Especially given the supply chain issues over the last year following the pandemic. And of course, the country aims to re-attract foreign investment in 2024, but at a time when a lot of foreign investment has fled China, do you think that these laws will encourage or discourage?
Well, I think in and of themselves, they will contribute but not be decisive. So I think, of course, China's made enormous advances in the legal sphere over the years. So everything from the establishment of separate intellectual property courts, development of a comprehensive set of legislation around the digital arena. These are all necessary and positive, but we also have to look at economic fundamentals as well. So I think this is why investors, corporations all around the world are, of course, looking at the legal environment, but also looking at the fundamental economy as well.
You mentioned the social and political drivers that are behind these laws and why they're being put in place. The newly adopted patriotic education law came into force on January the 1st. Talk about how that law will be enforced and what it hopes to achieve.
Sure. So let me also add a little bit of context here as well. So I mentioned that every country needs an effective set of laws, but different systems have different strengths. And if we look at, say, a system like the US's, which Robert Penn Warren, who wrote All the King's Men, described as a single-person blanket on a double bed for 3 people. Someone's bound to catch pneumonia. So China's legal system is not based on common law, but civil law. And here, what's important to note is that it can be a 3-person blanket for 3 people. And when we look at areas of national security in Hong Kong or in China, what we see is that China's approach, again, is not piecemeal or haphazard, just like the way it develops its physical infrastructure. So that it is integrated, comprehensive, and a complete synergistic approach, and recognizes the interconnectedness and the complexities of economics, as we discussed earlier, societal issues like young people going online, national security issues, sort of the traditional national security issues, to, I think, a broader understanding of how external threats can undermine political stability and economic prosperity. So I think, again, I think the broader context here is that China's taking a holistic, integrated approach to addressing a lot of the challenges facing itself and the world today.
And what about Hong Kong? What changes lay ahead in 2024?
Well, I think if we look at Hong Kong over the last, I don't know, say 10 years, certainly the structural environment, I think, is far, far better, largely due to advances in the legal area. So I think clarification of national security, and we've seen some of the recent cases in Hong Kong that really resulted in a very traumatic time for Hong Kong people.